back to this now. To KwaNgwanase in KwaZulu-Natal, where the community is mourning anti-crime activist Judah Mthethwa. He was gunned down at home on Thursday. Mthethwa was known for calling out criminals smuggling stolen cars into Mozambique. His calls led to the building of the e-war between the two countries. And our senior reporter, that's Siphamandla Goge, is there covering the story for us this afternoon, giving us, of course, the very latest. And Siphamandla, thank you so much for your time. I suppose, what are the circumstances surrounding Mthethwa's case?
So this is how it happened. Sadly, on Thursday night, Judah Mthethwa, who's very popular in KwaNgwanase and Mango's surrounding, was arriving at home, having gone to Durban to fetch his daughter from school. When he arrived at home around about 8:30 and 9 p.m., he was then ambushed and killed by three men who were believed to have been... He was killed by three people who were believed to be inside his own yard, and then three assassins, according to those who believe that they may have heard and saw what happened. Then he died, in a hail of bullets. Three assassins, it is believed. More than 29 cartridges were found on the scene. When eNCA visited his family, then we were able to find one bullet still lying there on the scene. And of course, it's something that is very traumatic to his family members. You can imagine someone being brutally gunned down, leaving behind 4 children, the wife, the elderly mother, and his own siblings. Yesterday it was very emotional, and today it's still very emotional because his family members are still very much devastated by what has happened. I spoke to his brother, Shedrack, who told me that, well, even though they don't want to speculate as family members, but they are of the view and they take their cue from what many people in the society and community are speculating, that he was gunned down simply because he was fighting for the truth. He was the chairperson of Lingana Society Against Crime. He is the former councillor at Lingana local municipality. He was still serving, even though he was approaching his retirement. He was serving as the principal in one of the local schools in the area. So this is someone very high profile and someone very vocal in the area in terms of his anti-crime stance. What do we mean by that? The area of KwaNgwanase has been plagued by car hijackings, theft, and all those cars that are hijacked in this area, or that are stolen in this area, they are smuggled to the nearby border, which is Kosi Bay, and then they are taken to Mozambique. It's a problem that has been going on for many years. If my memory serves me well, in fact, community members from this area started raising the issue with the then administration of former President Nelson Mandela, former President Thabo Mbeki, former President Kgalema Motlanthe, former President Jacob Zuma, and the current administration of President Cyril Ramaphosa. But there's been no success in dealing with crime in this area. The cross-border crime remains rife in the area. So Judah Mthethwa was very vocal in mobilizing the police. As you can see, we are outside Manguzi police station. Police here knew him very well because he used to complain to them about lack of progress in investigating, investigating and arresting the alleged perpetrators here. This is a well-coordinated syndicate that has been terrorizing community members in KwaNgwanase. This is what they do. They would come to your home, they will tie you up at night, they will take the car keys, take your car, send it to the nearby border, smuggle it to Mozambique. If you are in Durban or in Baki, or then all the way, then they will take it up. Go shoot that.
Unfortunately, Siphamandla, we're losing you there. I think it's definitely a network issue or a technical glitch, as you're still making your point around the complexities around the crime with which Judah Mthethwa attempted to expose out in KwaZulu-Natal. Hopefully we'll get a chance to come back to you, colleague, so that we can finish this conversation. Quite important to understand exactly the consequences of what happens when you speak out against crime in this country. Unfortunately, not often a tale with a good ending. Judah Mthethwa being gunned down outside his home, we understand, an anti-crime activist who had exposed the criminal activity of most vehicles being hijacked and then transported to Mozambique. Let me try again. Siphamandla Goge, if you can hear me, colleague, you were still finishing your point regarding how complex it was to move vehicles from KwaZulu-Natal to Mozambique, and Judah Mthethwa being quite pivotal, playing that significant role in exposing this crime.
Indeed, if I remember correctly, somewhere during 2009 and 2010, when the current Police Minister, General Pegicele, was still the National Commissioner, in fact, Judah Mthethwa formed part of the delegation that went to Mozambique with South African authorities to go and meet Mozambican authorities to say they need to work together in fighting this crime that is very rife in the area. Of course, he did earn many enemies by doing that, but his family members say they don't want to speculate. They treat his murder as pure criminality for now, but other community members are of the view that he was gunned down for being vocal and for being an anti-crime activist in the area, and they have basically pledged to continue fighting hard against crime in this area in honor of Judah Mthethwa. As I've alluded before, that successive administrations in South Africa have dismally failed to deal decisively with the issue of cross-border crime between South Africa and Mozambique. These are two sister countries that have enjoyed cordial relations. They've got strong historical ties, but that relationship is under threat now because of what is happening at this border between South Africa and Mozambique. There is a long-term project. I think it's an 85 million rand project where jersey barriers were erected across the border fence, but that project was halted because there were allegations of fraud and corruption. After many years of trying to get government to intervene, the locals were able to pressurize the Provincial Department of Transport to erect those jersey barriers to curb the issue of smuggling of vehicles across to Mozambique. But that project has been halted now. It's been 6 years. It's under investigation by the Special Investigating Unit. So locals are calling for that project to be completed, and they are calling for more resources from the South African National Defence Force and the South African Police to police that border where cars are being smuggled.
Well, Siphamandla, with that being said, any word as well from the traditional leadership within the area about cross-border crime challenges?
They are really concerned. We just interviewed Nkosi Maputu Tembe of KwaNgwanase or KwaTembe Nation or clan. He told us that this issue is long-standing, and as community members, they've tried all they could to engage with the South African authorities, powers that be, and they feel that they've been let down, and this threatens the issue of the local economy in the area. There have been a number of shutdowns in Manguzi. That affects tourism and the movement of goods and people, because Kosi Bay border is between South Africa and Mozambique. If you shut down this small town of Manguzi, you are basically crippling tourism, which is the source of employment opportunities in this area, which is the source of the growth of local economy. So for a number of years, there have been a number of shutdowns, but it would appear that this crisis continues. The smuggling of vehicles continues. About 2 weeks ago, there were cars that were torched both from the South African and the Mozambican side, and people were complaining about the continuation of this cross-border crime. It would appear that despite authorities visiting this area, if my memory serves me well, just after 2019, I'm subject to correction here, a high-level delegation that was led by Police Minister General Pegicele, Deputy Minister of Home Affairs Njabulo Nzuza, Deputy Minister of State Security at the time Zizi Godwa, visited this area, and I was part of the media crew that was coming here to cover that story. They promised that they were going to deal with this issue once and for all. A number of visits have been undertaken. Former President Jacob Zuma has been here. The current National Police Commissioner General Fani Masemula has visited this area, but nothing has come out of those high-profile visits as we speak. This cross-border crime continues. So local authorities, including traditional leadership in the area, is really worried about the impact on the social life of the people, the economy, as well as tourism.
Well, before I let you go, just briefly then, colleague, what now for the community as well as the anti-crime fighting efforts in the area, especially following Mthethwa's murder?
Of course, they fear for their lives. All the activists in this area, they fear for their lives, but they are adamant that they will not let this one slide. In honor of Judah Mthethwa, they have promised to continue with the fight, but they feel that government and law enforcement agencies are moving very slowly in terms of assisting them to successfully fight this scourge in the area. So for now, everyone in this area is scared, because you can imagine a number of cases, many people, they get hijacked, others are abducted, and then they are thrown out, and then their cars are taken across to Mozambique. You can imagine how traumatic that is. We've got a number of case studies, people that we have interviewed in the past. They will tell you that I was sleeping with my family, criminals came in, they violated me and my family members, they took cars and then they smuggled them across the border. So those who were fighting with Judah in terms of fighting this crime in the area are of the view that yes, they fear for their lives, they do not have protection, but they say they do not have a choice, because that's the only thing they have, is to work together in fighting crime, even though there is a high price to pay, but they say they are willing to pay the price.
All right, we'll leave it there. eNCA senior reporter Siphamandla Goge on the killing of an anti-crime activist in northern KwaZulu-Natal. Thank you so much for this update.